I have beaten Titan Complex, my new hardest demon to date, and certainly my most credible achievement. These levels recently have really been no joke, and it challenged me. As a level of this stature would, I suppose, it dragged on longer than I expected, with maybe 15 plus deaths past 75%. I've definitely got plenty to go through here, but first, here is Titan Complex complete.
Get in there! Fucking come on! I can't believe it. It sucks. It makes me feel like a baby when I moan and I whine for ages and ages and ages, like the level's the worst thing to ever exist. And then in the end, I kind of enjoyed the experience. It makes me feel like we're not just a wimp, like a fucking masochist or something, but it's a humbling experience.
And on that bizarre note, here's what I have to say about the level. Now, as I have done in a couple of previous videos, I'm going to run through literally the entire level, and some parts roughly explain, some parts in detail explain, essentially as much of the information that I've picked up that would be useful for beating this level as I can. Because the bottom line is, because my last video, well, it just kind of got viewed by more people than usual, so I actually got comments for once. And the one that was interesting, it was a bit of a pushback, you know, which is fair enough. Is it really a good thing to basically be doing all the work for people? And I intended to just clarify my position on that. And I agreed in as much as I myself don't go out looking for in-depth tutorials for every level I play. However, that's not to say that there aren't examples, notable examples. The classic one being Aeon Air making his sort of tutorials for EVW whenever he sets his sights on a new level. It's not like people don't do that. It's obviously not like I do all the work, because it's not like someone new to the game could beat Titan Complex just because I told them where to click. It is mechanically hard, and I don't really see it as me trying to hold people's hands through levels. Obviously, it's not like I'm going and forcing people to hold my hands. If they don't want to watch it, they don't have to. And the thing is that a lot of people could do with a different perspective. Even if they don't necessarily think they need it or don't want it, it can't really be a bad thing to see a level through someone else's eyes. And I see it more as a community thing than me trying to baby people or people taking a shortcut. I'm just saying, hey, I learned all of this. And if for literally no one else, then even just for myself, I'd like to get it all down in a video somewhere that I know I've gotten all of my thoughts out, and, you know, a year from now, when I've forgotten how to play this level, all of this will be archived. So in any case, watch it if you want to, don't watch it if you don't want to, whatever. Obviously in the comments, whatever your take on it is, you're welcome to share. As I say, it's a community thing, this, really. But anyway, if I were to give a few words on Titan Complex, it's a really cool level on paper, and a really cool level in practice, but a really hard and painful level in normal mode, which is the important mode. This actually took me a few days less than Artificial Ascent and WoW, you know, my last couple of levels, but it really didn't feel that way. This level is extremely long, of course. It's also kind of well balanced. There aren't really difficulty spikes in the level. A lot of the stuff is just as hard as everything else. But stringing everything together and getting attempts far and getting through parts the same day after day after day, it's really, really hard. Because guess what? When a level has 1,000,000 parts, it's not easy to wake up day after day and for nothing to have changed. More often, you wake up the next day and whatever was working the previous day is broken, and whatever was broken the previous day is fixed. Basically, expect a long and uncertain journey, but it is rewarding. It also puts me in a bit of a weird position where I'm now going to talk about an extremely long level, and I don't think it will be too long, but whereas a lot of levels have intense parts that could do with a lot of focus, this level has lots of not intense parts that still need focus, because if you start dying to them, it really costs you, because you lose like 3 minutes. I'll just start getting into it though. So the beginning of Titan Complex is this jump, probably the hardest jump in the level. If I move back here, the screen is completely black at the start. You can barely see, by the time you get to this jump, the cube. In fact, you pretty much can't. What you can see is this spike, and you can see it's lined up, so you have to jump when you're roughly under the spike to here, and you can just hold that. This is impossible. Just this click alone effectively killed half of my runs. It's really annoying. I don't know why it's here. Really out of place. In fact, the whole first 5%, which is roughly the first part, nightmare. Absolute nightmare, and only really because of a handful of clicks. But in any case, after the cube comes over here, a lot of these jumps are really easy. They're buffers. No timing involved. You can buffer this and hold it so that you jump over, fall, jump immediately, buffer this. You then come down into the ball, where you have to go up and down off this tiny little ledge. If you click right as the ball fully comes onto this platform, so just after a moment, click and buffer it, you'll get down. You can then buffer this dash orb, come across, and you have two notable clicks as the ball here and here. Those are the hard ones, because, well, it's just a relatively tight gap. Then you click these orbs, not too difficult. You can click the pink orb too early and hit the spike, but that's a rare occurrence and something that will not be common muscle memory. And yeah, you do the second click, and these two clicks, the first click, this up and down is the ball, and then these two clicks, those 4 inputs, or kind of 5 technically, will kill 60% of attempts, or at least they did for me. It's a piss take, to be honest, but it got better over time, kind of. You just have to cope with that. That's 2% as well, so 2% in, you'll have already lost most of your attempts. As the cube, you fall down, whatever, it turns into the robot. This jump's a bit awkward because, I mean, the ledge ends here, and you can kind of tell you have to jump rather late, and then if you tried to jump, even though the pad is this far forwards, it's not like you can get to the other end, so you have to wait a while, do a light tap, and just land over here, which is fine, but a bit of an awkward click. You then jump over here. This is a bit weird. You actually want to jump a bit earlier. The closer you get to the spike, the more dangerous. Obviously, you can jump too early, but the way it works generally is such that as long as you click early enough, you can control the weight to not die. Little jump here, fall down, little jump. Usually you don't want to go too far and click this too early, so if the robot's over here and you buffer, you really are going to hit the spike. So as long as you have a more measured robot jump and you wait a little bit for this, you can then pretty much immediately buffer this, go into this ship upside down. This is awkward, kind of. Everything here takes getting used to, but they're not incredibly hard, so I'm not going into too much detail. All the robot, for example, occasional deaths, but not a focus. Same with the ship here. As you are reverse, you just have to fly through. It's not very fast. The trickiest thing is gauging the angle that you fall down here and then getting into the portal here, because, well, you do have to be precise. It doesn't look, the way it bends, it's very unnatural. Instead of trying to be super precise and have a million inputs, I found that if you let the ship fall, do one not huge tap, but not a super light tap, one moderate click about here will usually push you up enough that you land in this portal, but not so low that you still clip the spike. Because if you go in too high up here, you won't have enough room to fall, you'll die. Just do a couple of clicks and really one main one as you approach to go up and over. And then as the mini ship, this is all smooth sailing, bash up, drop down here, black screen again. That will be a common theme, by the way. You won't be able to see at many crucial moments in the level, which is also what I would consider more of an annoying choice. I don't get why that's the gimmick in this level at all, but more of that to come. Yeah, just coast through and you're in to the next part. And that honestly takes like 15-20 seconds, and that's 5%, so this is what you're in for. It is mostly slow speed, so that is going to account for a lot of time for less percentage covered. But this next section, while that first 5% legitimately in the long run is, I would say, the least consistent part and the sort of least cooperative part, because you play it forever and ever and ever. It's the first thing in the level and it just refuses to get better. This is probably second, so that's also not helpful, but I genuinely viewed what I'm about to describe as the next part as extending all the way up to about 17%. That probably combines a couple of parts technically. It's not all made by one person, but that's what I viewed as the second chunk, and 0 to 5 and 5 to 17 comprise everything pre the first drop. So it's really the kind of extended intro, and it's the hardest thing. You will actually die a lot trying to just get to the first drop, especially at first. And that sucks. Is what it is though. As the cube, you can buffer this, click this roughly in the middle. If you go too high or too low, especially too low, it can mess with the later clicks, especially this first one. You want to click this sort of early to middle. If you click too late, I think you get the spike, weird stuff happens. So jump over, you can buffer this and click this. A lot of these timings, because this isn't meant to be an incredibly difficult part, have wiggle room, but there are just so many that there's high risk overall. So this is a buffer, this is pretty free. Obviously don't hold it too long and die. Slide along. This click is not hard, but will catch you out forever because it's just so innocuous. You don't think about it, and then before you know it, you've died to it 4 times in a row and you're tearing your hair out. It's really easy though. Honestly, if you just jump when it looks like you're right in the middle, that's good. It's part of a quick 3-click combo where you jump, immediately click this, and immediately tap this. You can click this black orb too early and not reach the platform. That almost never happens. You then jump and click this orb pretty much immediately, and very much like this click, you click when you're just in the middle and you'll be fine. That sends you up here, and if you buffer, you'll almost always reach this. You'll noticeably be quite low. That's just how it's designed. As you come out, you buffer this. You're the spider. Just click, really free open timing. Click, really free timing. This one you have to wait a moment so you don't hit the spike, and then on this click you also want to wait a moment so you don't hit whatever gonk is down here. Still free, you'll notice. Click, click, easy. Then you want to just look at the spider up here. You're a jewel, but don't care about this stuff down here. Just look at the spider up here. 1, 2, 3. The first 1, 2 goes kind of quick, and then you can quite easily feel out the third one, which is a bit later than the other 2. Then you go through here. Yeah, there's a pad there. Buffer this. As the ship here, you will fall into the spike if you don't click at all. Really easy and 100% consistent for me. Really light tap about here, then really light tap about here, and then click this. So really like light, quick, 1, 2, 3 always works. If you wanted, you could buffer this and live, whereas the cube, you go down here, about flip here, jump, but you will fall short sometimes. It's possible to, and so I wouldn't buffer just in case that happens. Just give it a tiny moment and do this as an individual click, and then you can hold that to then hit the orb and hold that to go in here, and then hold this dash orb. As the ship, this little bit you can die to. you'll notice that as you have to go down, fly through here, go up, fly through here, the spikes on the bottom are bigger for the first part, and the spikes on the top are bigger for this part. The thing is, in practice, and I can't be bothered to go find out how to switch on hitboxes to show this. I don't have Mega Hack because I can't be bothered to pay like $5 for functionalities that are already in the game, usually. Really, you don't have to go put higher here than center or lower here than center. You don't have to go right through here. The hitboxes, it doesn't matter. You know, these aren't fixed hitboxes, so the hitbox is actually quite low. You can just fly through the middle, fly up, fly through the middle. The real danger is not doing this ascent properly. You'll either go too high or too low. It's not that hard, but again, you have to do this over and over and over again, and you will die. It's a sort of law of really big numbers type of thing with this level. And if you die here, you've wasted like 45 seconds to a minute, which is like, I don't know, all of Hell maybe, something like that. It's a pain. And then it's just a bit more ship stuff. Here you just wait, get pushed down by this slope and click this orb. Also really easy to not focus and buffer this way too early and just not click it and die. So try and click this at the time you hit it. Just a tap, then you just have to coast through here. Or you go reverse, you fall down, just a firm click to go in. And I found it cleaner not to be doing lots of little taps, just do one big one to go in. Give it a moment so that you kind of drop as far down as you can, and then one click to right yourself for this gap, and then coast through. And then you enter another section, like it obviously visually it is a different section, but I added this on, I tacked this on to everything else. Everything up to here, as you'll notice, very learnable, not an enormous skill ceiling as it were, but it all compounds, it all adds up. But fortunately, as should be clear by what I've said so far, it's not like I have loads of details. Maybe that's a problem, maybe it's worth shading in all the little inputs and how you do them, but I got there by feel, not by testing. This, for example, I had a certain rhythm I would click. Like, ideally, if I was locked in and warmed up, I'd usually do one click to right up, and then do something like 3 clicks here. Or I'd do 1, 2 to keep coasting, and then make sure the third was for this. Because otherwise, if you just spam randomly, sometimes you'll have a click that's right on the edge, and you end up clicking this and hitting the spike. So it could be worth hashing out exact inputs, but I figured it out organically. It's not too bad. So you coast through. Light click here because it's quite easy to hit this, and so light click and ideally a bit further in. If you click too early, you're lined up really badly. Through this teleporter, you come here, right side up, you have to hold so that as you come down, you naturally come up, coast along, make sure you're over the spike, hold the dash orb as a reverse ship, coast down into this. And this is all very slow gameplay, so not hard really, relatively. This gap's open, come up a bit, mini ship, coast down, couple of inputs, you know, as you come in through this, couple of inputs, come back down, couple of inputs, a lot of room. This straight fly here, a lot of room, just slowly coast down, a lot of room still. That's all almost 100% consistent. This ball, it's obviously really simple. I hardly have to explain it. You can just see you go up, down. But these gaps, the pace that you're going at, the fact that it's already been a minute and you're only about 15% in, the fact that you're repeating this over and over again, you'll just get impatient and click this too early and click this too early. Just try and be patient and composed, I guess, is the best advice. Because I can't expect you to have exact markers. You just get bored. You know, it feels like it's not worth it. That's really the crux of Titan Complex. It feels like it's not worth it to try because there would be too much to try on. If it's Hell, as I mentioned earlier, just because I brought it up randomly, you know when you focus, it's at the crazy wave bits. Who cares about the ship at the end or that spammy UFO wave thing? Like, you lock in at the main wave. You can't lock in on everything in Titan Complex. You're going to be locked in for 4 minutes. You're going to pass out. So that's the tough thing to manage. So yeah, you'll probably die to this ball. You click this orb as you come down. You don't want to buffer it as with black orbs. You don't hit it too late because then you will come up way too much and actually clip this and die. Again, as the ball here, really easy actually to click at the wrong time because it's tighter than it probably looks to you. Come down, click the blue orb, bounce. This dash orb can't be buffered. Hit it right in the middle and, you know, do that deliberately. I would like to hold it, even though you become the wave here and you can theoretically let go immediately, like still in this spike and start clicking. Way easier, I found, to just hold about as far as you could here so that you come down and your first wave click only has to be up here. as the wave. Once you're up here, you want to sort of come down a bit, go up through here, and then anywhere in this, you can almost see this not as a wave shaped thing, but as a corridor with the top here and the bottom here. Just do a little couple of clicks to come up. As you come up, hold so that you automatically jump as the cube, and let go obviously once you're here so that you fall. This click, quick 1 and 2, and then you're into the next part. Wait long enough so that you don't die to the spike here. This is the most pathetic death maybe in the whole level. When you play all the way up to 17%, the first drop does take probably a minute at least, and then you die there. Don't do that. Feel like a mug. And then you get to the drop, and this is where the level starts for real, at 17%. Yeah, this pre-drop is probably the hardest part of the level. Don't feel bad if you have trouble with it, or it feels like you're being held up. I can't describe how many times I would play, and I'd even feel like I was on a hot streak. I was getting levels to the drop, getting levels, getting attempts far, and then all of a sudden it's like I got knocked out and I just woke up. I've, complete amnesia, don't even know where I am. All of a sudden my attempt count is 50 higher, and I don't remember any of them, how far I got, where I got, because I just died over and over to the first click and to the everything before here. You just hit really dry patches, and it really shell shocks you, and that happens. You just got to push through this level. It's tough. The drop is where it starts kind of for real, although for a while I'd say it's still very repetitive, which is a good thing because it means it gets consistent, but it's a bad thing because it means it gets really boring. It says the ship, you have to hold. This transition you can't see, so you just buffer during the transition, so you immediately come up as the ship, come through here to the wave up here, spam. For this spam and the couple of more spams that you'll see here, you can obviously come up through these portals as the cube and hit the spikes, because you go up. You're supposed to fall down and slide and jump. These close up to make a triple spike. They're not this wide. Obviously you go up, but you will naturally learn a certain click pattern. You naturally try and click a certain number of times, typically synced to the song to a degree, so that you will always end up falling through. It's not a big deal. Jump over triple spike. It's a wave. It's really simple. You can see exactly where to go as the wave. Bit of spam, up, down, bit of spam. They're really manageable spams. They're not too intense. As this transition, you fall down and back up. And the way it works, the cube, as you're falling up, obviously goes up to the top of the screen. So you do start this spam a bit blind, but it's not harder than this spam or the other spams. It just starts blind, so you just have to have faith and muscle memory. At first, it can feel like this is a harder transition to not jump through and die, but you'll get used to the timing, essentially, of the wave. Come down, jump. It is the harder one to time, though, it feels like, personally, just because of the way, you can't see. Again, click here as the wave. You go up, down, then this click is probably the tightest in the whole wave, but you can see it's really not that bad. Gets in your muscle memory. The hardest thing at first is just that it's a bit irregular. You can see these look very regular in the lengths and the timing. It's a bit shorter and thinner. It's unusual, but you get used to that. All very routine. Up, down, up. Get used to the speed change, holding long enough, back down. Super, super consistent. Then transition to the next part. Also super consistent, can be a little bit less for reasons, but still we're in very consistent but very repetitive and very boring, in my opinion, territory. Come up, have to click this orb, not hard. You can die to it frequently if you're not paying attention, which you will be over the course of thousands of attempts. You can see, click roughly here, but just click when you can see that you're just coming under the edge is probably the best thing. Most commonly I would die by jumping early, and it's really clear that you jumped early because you'll basically be alongside it still. Like even if you hit the blue orb, you'd probably still die. So just don't jump too early. And then pretty simple jump from the edge through here. This wave, you can see, makes no sense because it's moving objects, and that does make this a bit more awkward. The objects come up and down so that it's a path kind of like this. It's just a wave, to be honest. The only thing to note is that this is where the floor is for the wave during this part. That means that the floor here is safe, so you can hold, because you're reversed, you can hold at the end and fall through. You can't hit this, so you have to come just over this and then you can hold. The ship here gets very consistent. It's a bit awkward at first though. You can see you come down and up in one click each. You can hit this and get weird stuff happening, but as long as you go in the not super high up, as it were, that won't happen. Try and make this one firm click to come down in line. I've just noticed that this gap's smaller, and this is the one that you would die to more often. But you want to come up to this opening in one click, I found. Way more consistent that way. And, once you're here, maybe one little click just to keep coasting. Fall down, let yourself reverse, and then fall down again. Then one or two clicks just to come up. And you can just 1, 2, 3 and hold them until the next one, down into here as the cube, and you fall down these platforms, jump on the last one. Weird thing about this is at first you'll probably notice you can die in some annoying ways. You can kind of just fall straight down into spikes in just a blink of an eye. So be really ready right as you hit the portal to start the spam. Yeah, you spam, and it's not the easiest spam. You've got to be properly spamming. This is the one part where you have to actually try to click fast. And then somewhere in the middle, it turns into a big wave instead of a mini wave. Stay in the middle the entire way until you hit a teleport thing to come down as the cube. This is just 6 clicks as the UFO to the song, really obviously, but to make it more consistent, because you can die to this, for whatever reason, the way I found was it was easier to split it up into 2 and then 4. So the way it works simply is you jump, 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 6 jumps. But the first thing I would die to is the first jump. If you jump right as you get into the portal, it's often too high. Obviously, the problem is you do the 6 clicks, but you want to do them right as you hit the portal. So the first jump gets you in, and then you want to jump once you've passed that portal, once you've passed that portal, etc. If you jump do the 2 jumps too quickly, you'll go jump, jump, and just hit this. So you want to do the first 2 jumps, starting with the number 1 jump a little bit after you've hit the portal. You want to wait a moment to do the first jump, but then you want to do the second jump quite quickly because you will reach the portal fast. This is a short gap to be traveling through with 4 times speed. So you want to do jump, jump really quick. And then I found to give it a little moment, not an enormous moment, sometimes you want to consciously separate click 2 from another set of 4. Because I found if it was 1, 2, if I just spammed 6 times in a row as fast as I could, I would die around here by clicking too fast. So I tried to wait for this click by doing 1, 2, just a tiny moment, 1, 2, 3, 4. And that was 100% consistent essentially. You then fall into this little transition into the next part. As the mini ship, it's slow, just coast down, coast up. It should be extremely easy. You can die once or twice to it though, and I preferred to have a really consistent click pattern. I would just do 4 light clicks, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, especially moving into this part, because this is not even in line with this, and this thing goes whoosh and shoots up pretty high. So imagine 1, 2, 3, 4, fall a bit, 1 click, you have to really rise high up. So you got to be prepared on this click. You can quite easily hit it too late and not have enough room to get over. This next part is where the difficulty really starts, I would say. This is about 30%. All of the stuff earlier was either just early on low difficulty and tiresome, or extremely consistent and just repetitive. Here you get parts that required more practice. This was one of the hardest parts of the level, going by pure practice numbers for me, and deaths in the level. As I said, click 1, you got to come up and over. You click this black orb to shoot down, and you got to hold essentially this black orb so that as you go down you straighten out. Now I'll just show you, as the ship, you come up through here, reverse, come down through here, flip back again, up and down, straight fly. You'll be able to see it flashes black and white. In practice in the level, you're half blind. You really can't see much at all here. And so it becomes a really inconsistent part at first glance. It can get consistent. It can get really remarkably consistent. This is the thing. The least consistent stuff in this level compared to inconsistent stuff in average levels, this stuff's a breeze. You can get this super consistent compared to what I had to deal with Michigan in Artificial Ascent. The trick that I found, big part of it was this click. A lot of the consistency in this part is not trying to make fail safes and consistent things. It's just a trust that it's not technically that hard. This might look like a tight gap. It's really not that bad at the speed you're going at as well, and the fact that these probably aren't super restrictive hitboxes. So at first I tried, after holding this click, to somehow hold so that I was sliding against this so that I'd be consistent coming through. You just can't really do that, and when you fuck it up, it makes it super inconsistent. So I found actually the best thing to do was coming off of this click and straightening out to try and just fly clean through the center without touching anything. And then I would do just 2 clicks to come up in line with this, and then a second click to keep coming up. As I flipped through, I would do 1 click, not too early, because it's quite easy to go too early and hit this immediately. 1 click to come through and start coming down, then another click to keep coming down through here. And again, you'll see this gap. That's a big gap. You are blind, kind of, as you do it, but it's a big gap, so you just have to trust that you can get through cleanly without going crazy with all the inputs. And then another 2 robust clicks, just having faith that the gaps are big, which you can see, they really are big. One to come up and then come down, one again to come up and come down. As you can see, literally blind. Super blind in this transition. As you come down, you then have to try and straighten yourself out and start straight flying, pretty much blind until about here. So you get a lot of, you get about halfway in not being able to see, but it's a big gap and it's slow, and you can see the lead up, so it's not that bad, but it's not nice, it's not comfortable to do. And then this bit is, in practice, probably the harder part of this little ship section, because you're going at 4x speed. This comes down, so you just go through this gap, and then you've got a pretty straight run here, and this comes up, so you've got a pretty clean gap through here. This comes down, so there's a portal like here or here, fuck knows. But yeah, I would just do 3 clicks to keep straight and go through here, and then limit myself to 3 clicks to keep myself straight and go through here, and then reverse back to right side up, 3 clicks to keep myself at the right direction, go through here, and try and overthink it or whatever. You just panic and screw it up. Because this is almost like you've completed a full level's worth of gameplay at this point, and this is where it starts to mean something. This is, if there was a choke point, the first meaningful choke point that will block you from getting far. So it's something that can have pressure on the clicks. So limiting them made me more consistent. This part's a bit strange, because you can sneak under this speed change by going really low, and maybe really high, and that affects the timings later on. I preferred not to, and it's easier not to. Just go straight through the middle. But you'll go through this transition consistently anyway, really, but don't try and be weird. You can go too high, and basically as you come into the UFO, it will shoot you up on you without you having to do anything, and if you're trying to hold or do weird stuff, you'll come out a different way. So just let go and fall, and then you'll shoot up as the UFO, fall down. You have to click to get into this portal. Don't have a good cue for that. Just click so that the UFO goes through the middle of that portal is about right. Now that you fall up and back down, you click this orb. You can click whenever, it's really chill. As you come through here, you can click too early and hit this, and if you're not focused or you're a bit nervous for some reason, that's quite easy. If you're having trouble with that, try and click as you're approaching this saw blade. So you want to visually be jumping over like this. Obviously, if you jump too early, you will be jumping over here, which is miles away, so that's a potentially helpful cue. This black orb is pretty free. You then fall through, and the next click is as you come down. Once you've gone through this portal and you want to go over here. This one again, you can jump too early. This one, just be conscious that you want to jump a bit after going through the portal. So that's literally like 4 inputs, really slow, not intense at all. This is the easier part. Cube falling down and back up into this. And here you want to hold as you become the ship, so that you, instead of falling down here, you come up and straight. And to do that, you want to start holding right as you hit the portal, right as you're in the middle of the portal. That will line you up at the right time. Then it's a straight fly. You're going really fast. If this looks tight, it's really not that hard at all. It's kind of free. Coming through here, I liked to have a consistent click pattern, not because it's hard, but just because this level, as I said, is about minimizing any risk whatsoever, because it all compounds so hard, because it's such a long level. So minimal clicks, just a couple to coast down. Once as you hit this, a couple to coast down and keep straight, because this is not a hard straight fly either. You then transition to this part, probably the most scuffed part of the level, but it's not intense, not difficult at all. It's just awkward, and it will catch you out though, so I recommend practicing this to really get comfortable with it, and to keep practicing it, because it will keep throwing new deaths at you and annoying you. As the UFO, jump, click to come down, and as you're in this speed change, jump, click to come up, click this to start coming over. A thingy will come down here, which means that if you click too early, you can hit it. Wait until you're getting close to it to jump, and then again for this to jump. You then hold this dash orb, and this is really the first annoying thing that will kill you. If you're not paying attention, these will kill you, but they're easy. As you're the dash orb here, as you come along, you become a robot, and you're still holding the dash orb. You let go, click this to come up through these spikes, and then carry on. Except this click is really annoying. It's possible to go too late and hit this. It's really easy to not hit late enough and to not make it over, because you're slow. And I tried a bunch of stuff, and you should probably try a bunch of stuff, but what I finally found that was quite consistent, or that was the method that allowed me to become more consistent, was that I tried to hold later than I had been previously, until I was visually in the gap behind this arrow, so in this little area, triangular area here. Then I'd let go, and then you want to hit this at least in the middle, preferably a little bit later. And this click you will get more comfortable with as you do it more, but it's so easy to not click it right at first. And going later means that even if you click it earlier, because you start further to the right, you can still clear the gap more often. And then you start, this is like higher up, it's not really like that. So the gap is, the floor is about here. You don't want to click this too early because you can die, so wait till you're further along to click the pink orb. Second jump, click this. So it's hard to see because this guy's massive name is in the way. There's a blue orb somewhere back here. And so you click this, you're now reversed, and when you click the blue orb, it makes you go down, and you have to immediately do 2 clicks to come up. This part you can click weird and just make it through anyway, ignoring the orbs, but you just don't die to the orbs. They're so free that I didn't bother. So once you've done a couple clicks to come up in line with this, you click it to go up, click this to go through here, and I immediately did 2 clicks to go 1, 2, and that sent you in safely. This moves down, so you want to actually be coasting down a bit. I would just do like 4 light clicks to be consistent, just 1, 2, 3, 4. There's no pressure on it though, it's really free. This is the second part that kills you in really weird ways, and this one is more based on feel and getting used to it, so good luck. I tried so hard to come up with methods for this that worked all the time. It wasn't easy. Firstly, you click this to come up, and it's best to do it roughly in the middle, probably not too late. You just want this to be quite neutral, nothing crazy. Then these 2 orbs, you come down and then immediately come up. It's tough because it's super easy to come up and hit this by being too high. So you need to get this right, but it's really hard because for that to happen, you need to get this right. And this is impacted by this, so it all strings together to be a chain reaction of death. What worked for me was hitting this vaguely early and this vaguely early. The later you hit this, the more trouble you have getting any room for an early click on this. Because obviously, if you click later, you're more likely to go higher. But also, if you click and you're just over high up here, you're probably going to come higher. And if you click later on this, that's what's going to send you towards this higher edge. So you want to click this earlier, but if you buffer it, then other weird stuff starts to happen, like you come out too low. If you make sure these 2 clicks are early and early, you'll usually have a good, you'll make it through. And then these ones, you can also click this, or this one you can't click early, or this one you shouldn't, because then as you come up, you hit this. You don't make it through far enough, right? So you have to wait a moment for this. But then on these ones, you want to click this, come down, and obviously you don't want to click too late and hit this. You want to click and then click a bit faster or earlier so that you come through, hit this, slide, go up here. And then these 2, you want to click earlier. There's not huge pressure on this, they're not hard, but you should just be aware that if you click this too early and too high up, you'll hit the ceiling. And if you want to go through the middle, you actually have to click lower. So you want to click early so that you're lower down here. You want to click late so that you're lower down on here. And that sends you through. Then the final click, you become the robot, you buffer this, and then one way or another, depending on how you come through here, the buffer can actually put you further left or right. But this isn't a hard jump. The danger is just going too high and dying. This has to be a real micro click. Just focus on hitting light. And then you reach this mid part. You come out here in an awkward cube. And here you get about a 10% filler part that joins what I would call the front half to the back half. Functionally, it may as well be different levels entirely. The front half is really slow, boring, repetitive. Loads of free timings, loads of awkward parts. It's just meant to be a patience test. And then the second half has all the intense stuff with the cool music and the fast-paced, and that's the nervy bit. And here, this part just joins the two. It was actually probably one of my favourite parts of the level, though, just in and of itself. It played well consistently. It was where I was most comfortable, and a lot of this level is uncomfortable. As this mini cube, you jump, hit a pad. This has pink orbs in it though, so when you do then jump, it's shorter and it's weird. What I found better is, firstly, to make this first jump, you have to click later as you're just coming to the edge. If you jump too early, you'll hit this spike and stuff and you'll die. And I would hold this click. So you come to the edge, jump over, you hit the pad, and because I'm still holding, I do a normal jump. Then, to do this consistently, I hit the orb right in the middle to come over here. This has pink orbs in it again. When you jump, it's just a small pink orb jump. That's fine, doesn't matter. The important thing here is if you hit this mega early, if you buffer it, you'll hit the saw. Sometimes I think you could, depending on where you jump here, buffer and live, but I found that unsafe. You don't have to hit it too late is the thing. To live, you just have to not do it super early. The most consistent and comfortable place to hit it was when I was roughly in line with it side by side. So I jumped and fell to about here and clicked. That's what felt the most comfortable, because the next clicks you buffer, essentially. Buffer this to come over. And I found that for one reason or another, maybe because it just took longer, I don't know, if I hit this super late, when I would come down, I'd try and buffer this, and the angle would just be wrong, and you'd kind of just miss it entirely. But really, these clicks aren't too bad. You get used to them, especially when you're playing from zero, because you're super focused if you can get this far. So you hit this, buffer, slide along, jump. You'll want to separate these jumps, because if you buffer, you'll do a normal jump and it go too far. You gotta click this individually, so you use the pink orb in it to jump over. You can click both of these too early, at least the first one, but these are also very safe. As you come to this jump, you can jump anywhere along here. You have a big window. Depends what you're comfortable with. Didn't matter too much either way. So you come down to the ship, you gotta hold to straighten out. I often was most comfortable doing one click where I just hold, straighten out, and that would keep me going all the way into this portal. You can do one and try and straighten out. Depends how you feel, especially playing from zero, because how you feel in practice here really doesn't matter, because when you have no nerves, it feels super free. When you get here from zero, you've been playing for pretty much a couple of minutes and you're only halfway, so you will often be nervous just getting to here, especially at first. And so as the ship then, you do a couple of clicks to keep going through here, fall through, couple of clicks to go over, just keep straight, very open and free. You don't have to think about where you go into this portal very much at all, because it'll teleport you to be on here. Click late along the platform. You can quite easily click short of the end and not make it. Then as you roll off here, you want to do these two clicks as a quick combo, where you roll off, click this, and try and buffer this almost as early as possible. I think you can buffer it too early, but that's kind of crazy and really hard to do. Just click these two very, very quickly in succession, and then click this one later, so you're at least around the middle, and usually that'll be fine. Come down, don't buffer this too early, click this middle or later to come over here. You have a 1, 2, and 3. The 1 and 2 are quite easy. The 3 is also generally quite easy, but obviously don't click it too early. And then there's the spider. A lot of these clicks are also free. Click, click. This part is the part that you would think about, but it gets extremely consistent and easy as well. You got to get used to waiting long enough to make sure you're on this, because you've obviously got to do click, click, super close together. So really fast click, click. And you don't actually have to do it crazy fast. It's not like you have to double click, but especially if you're trying to click it really fast, and by mistake, that means you kind of try and buffer this, you'll only get one click and it just messes up. So you want to make sure you wait the little bit so that you're on the platform for the 2 clicks, and then you just have to click twice really quick and you're fine. Then you click here, click here, click here. Don't buffer this because you'll not make it. That would be a really sad death. Click at least in the middle to go over. Click, click. Don't click this too early. It is possible to click too early. It's also possible to hit this and die late, but that's harder to do. Just be disciplined and delay it long enough. That's the gist of these parts, by the way. It's just depressing if you die here, and that's what's motivating you to live. Really dark, annoying blind transition. So after that final click, you transition here, you'll see you hit a pad. You want to hold to buffer this. Because it's dark and it's hard to see, don't hold it too early and jump over this whole thing entirely and die. Buffer, fall down. This click is a bit awkward, because if you don't do it right, when you come down off this pad and towards this, you won't be far enough along. You might be over here, and so you don't really have the room. So you don't want to click it super early. You don't want to buffer it. But if you click it too late, well, you'll find out it's really easy to click too late and fall down into this weird thing here. What was super consistent for me that I found, because the part I just showed you, essentially first half of the filler connector part, very free, very easy, very consistent, no notes, good part. This part, really janky, really weird, a load of not clicking, and then the clicks are really strange. I had to spend more time than you'd expect on this. And my solution for this click was to click it when you're kind of above this line, when you're half in the orb. Because also you'll notice, as well by the way, it just flashes black. It just has this sudden flash black, like you're blinking, which is what it feels like. And funnily enough, because in real life you're used to blinking, it makes it kind of okay, but it's just a human instinct. But yeah, click when you're half in the orb, come up, click in the middle of here. This at first might seem really finicky, but you get really used to it. It's a consistent timing if you set it up consistently. After you're here, you want to jump and then click this orb, you can jump too early, so don't jump too early, and you usually won't. Again, the weird effect that I found was with this part, like the previous part, if it is possible to die at some of these clicks, you just don't from zero because you're too locked in. Because it's the good attempts from zero feel so meaningful that you focus super hard naturally. So you jump, click, you can hold, but it's possible to die from holding and trying to shortcut almost everything here, so I didn't because I found it unnecessary. And after jumping, you don't have to click this to hit this pad, but unless you set this up as a buffer consistently or whatever, I just clicked this. So after clicking and clicking, I would click to go down, but the problem with that is that if you click too early, you can hold and jump here and die. So when I clicked this, I consciously waited to click it later as I passed through, so that when I came down, I would immediately hit the pad and I couldn't jump over like that. And that's very consistent for me. And that set me up coming up through here really consistently, because this click leading into this click, these two are also a bit awkward and very possible to die to at first. It must be said though, after implementing all of these cues, this part became completely free in the end. So I wouldn't stress too much about it. It's very learnable and very possible to internalize. It's just strange, and it's super nerve-wracking at first because it means so much and it's such a crap part. But you want to hit this late. Visually, the kind of feeling and the cue here is that you want to click it when you're diagonally up and to the left here. So once you've come through and you want to fall a bit so that you're on this side before you click, and then you'll be very safe. And again, if you buffer this, you'll die. You don't have to be super late, just at least in the middle, roughly, to come up. One of the problems I found, which is why I have this specific strategy, is that if you actually click this too early, where you're further down side by side, which I found was particularly possible if you hold this and then slide into this pad, which is why I didn't like doing that. When you click this on the earlier side and live, even if you wait and click this, you can actually not make it to this pad, which really sucks. And so that's why I did this the way I outlined. Then you come down as the ball, click through here, very easy. Wait until you fall up here to click and buffer, very easy. You're blind. You click this in the middle, or maybe even a bit later. You just don't want to click this too early and not make it. And you might have to click later than you expect, but that's fine. It's not hard. You have a little transition thing. You're in an auto here, and then you come out as the ship, fall down. You just need to do a couple of clicks to keep straight through here. Don't blow it. If you're at this point, it's simple, it's easy, don't mess it up from zero. Another couple of clicks to coast down. Click this orb just in the middle, hold it to go through here, and then you transition again to this, where it's just you come out, click and hold this orb just long enough to jump, and then very quickly click this. If you wait too long, and you don't click this as early as you can, you'll die on stuff here, like you won't pass through the portals clean. Then the ship kind of funnels out, and you take control about here. Don't click too early and die. These just spin in such a way that you have to actually take this path here, diagonally up. These kind of spin round, and they're awkward. I don't like it, but it's easy. And as you go diagonally through up to here, you hold from this slope, so it forces you to go down and up like this. If you hold too long, you'll go too high, so stop holding somewhere around here so that you can get in. Couple clicks. You don't have to straight fly through this. Just once you make it into the kind of jaws here, it locks you in place for the next transition. Another blind transition, which just spits you out here right at the start of the drop. Intense music, so the ship comes about here. This is an easy transition ultimately, but it's also one that you can screw up if you're panicking, so just keep calm if you can. And this is the second half of the level, pretty much the second level in and of itself. And this is the level that is the stressful one. But to be honest, it's overall got a lot more free parts. It's just also got some more choke point like parts. A lot of this next stuff I'll show you is really simple and easy and free. You click this and this and this, all kind of in the middle. Very simple timings. Obviously you don't want to click this too late because you can die, but click this in the middle, and if you're focused and you're ready for the transition, it's easy. These two clicks happen close together, like a 1-2. This red orb thing shoots you up quite fast, and you hold this to flip upside down, just hold and come down as the ship. Then straight fly, really open. 1, 2, 3, 4. You want to click these fast and not hit them late. You bounce up. This dual wave, all you need to look at is one of the waves. I obviously naturally would look at the normal, not reversed one. Up, hold, down through the blue pools. That's it. You then do 4 clicks here as this dual. It looks super weird and maybe you'd think it's complicated. All you do, click and hold as you reach this. not really a buffer. Then at some point around here, you can let go and buffer in preparation for these. That's the second click. For this click, the third click, you want to click as you reach it. So you don't want to buffer from early like the previous ones. You want to come up to it and then let go and click right as you get to it and hold. And then for here again, you want to do a buffer. So somewhere early you start buffering because you'll have a cube or something here that jumps, as well as this you want to hit buffer. So yeah, just 4 clicks that go click on the orb, buffer early, click on the thing, buffer early. Then as you come up, click, click. You want to buffer these both, but because there's a portal here, you can't buffer super early on from like here because you'll just hit it. You have to wait until you are getting close to approach and then buffer and buffer. As this jewel bit, you have a wave that's comes down to slide here and a spider that's up here, and so the way it works is you just look at the wave, you click at the right time so the wave can come up, hold up here, let go to come down. You'll obviously then want to click to go up and down as the wave, and if you click too early, that's the danger, the spider will hit this. So you want to make sure you wait until the wave is a bit further along into this gap here to click up and down. They then both shoot down through here, and you just want to hold this dash orb right in the middle. Don't buffer it, time it in the middle. It's not hard timing though. You'll then bounce through some stuff. 2 clicks, 1 click, 2 here. Very easy. Coming to the end of this free part now. A dash orb to hold here. The safest way to do this consistently. You want to buffer it pretty much, but since the bottom bounces up from this pad and the other one bounces a bit later from this pad, the safest thing would be to watch the top robot or whatever it is hit the pad and then buffer once it's hit the pad, because if you buffer from once this comes off the pad, this one will still not have reached it and will jump, and so the bottom one will hit the dash orb and the top one will just fall down here and die. So don't do that. And then after you've hit the dash orb and you come along, it'll automatically cut off so that they fall into these 2 pads. You can also release just before that and you'll hit the pads and you'll probably be fine. Either way, after you hit the pads, you want to buffer for 2 buffer clicks, and that's all you do for this jewel again. And to make the first one really consistent, you want to watch until you see both things just hit the buffer pads and then start to hold it all the way through, and then buffer these 2. These are all one hold click basically. So somewhere around here you buffer and hold. It will do everything for you. You make it through this transition. You want to click this dash orb in the middle. If you buffer it, you'll be high up, you'll spin along, and one of these portals will kill you on a spike about here. And if you hold the dash orb at the right time and fall through, you hit the next part, the swing copter. This part ended up being one of my favourite parts. I would agree, certainly it's cool, but it's also a bit annoying and has kind of a choke point. It's the first proper sort of choke point in this half of the level. You'll see you come up here, but the problem is you are just blind through this transition. And then the screen is black until you hit this thing and you're about to, or pretty much actually until you've hit this pad, which makes this first click hard and inconsistent in many ways. And as the swing copter, you want to click to come up and then click to come down, and this click to come down is hard because obviously you click too late, you'll hit the roof or this saw. Click too early, you'll hit here on these saws, and you'd rather not do too much here. You can do this really simply with few clicks, and it's designed that way, but that requires you to have a couple of precise timings, and the first one is the click up and down here particularly. I'd make that consistent by aiming to do the first click up as I got to this little nodule. It reminded me kind of like something on an airport runway. Right as you get there, you click to come up, and then the second click you want to do right around the middle, and that's the best I could come up with. It was really 90% feel rather than visual cues and things like that. I just had to get it consistent on feel, and a big part of that actually was mentality. When I would get to this part, and it was like the second or third time I'd ever gotten to it, and it's kind of late in the level, and it's tight and complex, and it's stressful, really easy to mess up. If you get there and you try and be confident, and you try and treat it like it's what you've been doing in practice a million times, you have a lot more consistency and a much better likelihood of just nailing these 2 timings, because they're very feel based. Then the next clicks, as you're coming down, you want to do 1 to come up, 2 to come down, 3 to come up again over here. These 3 have more wiggle room, but you can also mess up. Click the last one too late, you'll come up, but it'll be too late and you'll hit the spike, the saw rather. They're not that bad though. This click is the first dangerous one, and the second dangerous one is this one. As you come down, there's more room, but it's quite easy to again be nervous and hit it early or late. You just want to hit it right as you're around the middle and come down, and then you essentially keep it straight here. Ideally, if you hit it right at the right time, you'll come down, clear this saw, and you want to wait a little late so that when you click to come back up, you've cleared this saw cleanly. If you click a bit too early, like here, you can still come back down in time, but it's a bit of a close call. You can also, if you click a bit too early, still make it over this, but you would hit this before where you'd want to click around here. And you can save that by going up and down reactively, but obviously you'd rather not have to do that, but you can just to save yourself if you don't do it perfect. And then here, there's a lot of room. It's just you keep straight up and down, don't have to be too precise through this pool. Then you come out here as a robot, you bounce up from the pads, and this 1, 2 you want to do as fast as you can, mainly the second one. When you click this first and come up, if you click this even in the middle, when you come down and like hit something or whatever, you buffer this, you buffer this, you buffer this, and even if you buffer all three, if you click this one just even in the middle, as you come down here, you crash into this. So you have to click these two as fast as possible, then buffer these three to come down onto the platform. One small jump, one slightly longer but still kind of small jump to clear this ledge, because it's a bit extended compared to this, you'll see. After those two jumps, you're back into a swing copter here. You're released coming down here. This is much easier. This part of the swing copter is pretty much free, as long as you keep composed. You can die if you panic. I did once or twice. You click once you're lower down, although it doesn't look like it's necessarily shaped as much in the same way the first one is. It looks more open. You are supposed to, as you come down, click in this little crater here, this little curve, so that you come up in one click, then do a little 1, 2, 3. So you go 1 to come down, 2 to come back up, 3 to come down. That's very open, not hard to time. As you come down, one more click to come back around. And then again, just keep straight. There's a good amount of room. It's a bit deceptive where the walls are. It's hard to see, but for example, it does kind of look like the bubbling surface here is here with this bigger gap, but then the bubbling surface here is right up against the lights, so it kind of tricks you a bit, but it's really open nonetheless. It transitions you to ship briefly. You're right side up. It slows you down, but this is super open. Just be ready when it speeds you back up and you hit this portal to reverse, and then do a couple more clicks to keep straight. Don't panic there. This is super easy. And then you're into the next part. It slides you up. You have this transition, this blind transition, spits you out here. This part is another really abrupt, sudden transition point that can kill you, that you need to have faith and confidence in to not screw up immediately. You want to buffer this click as you come out, really easy. Hold it so that you jump over this spike, really easy. Don't let go of this too early, because it is a really long way down, and you can hold it for a while and think, yeah, I've held it long enough, and you haven't. That would be depressing. But once you've jumped over, there's just a teleporter here that teleports you up here as the wave, and it's really hard to see visually. Like, there's an arrow here, but it just kind of happens, and you have to just with feel know when you've got to do the first click coming down as a wave to go up here. Really easy to click too early and hit this. Really easy to not react in time and hit this. It would suck to die like that from zero. You've just got to get a feel for it. That's what I would say anyway, because it gets consistent, but it's a scary prospect when you get here. But as this wave, it's not too bad in when you actually play it in the level, even if it does look a bit tight. You go up, down, up, down, up, down, up. And as you come down here, I don't really get what this is. I know it looks like a big and a mini wave, but it actually sends you reverse, I think. I don't know what you're really supposed to do, but what I found was most consistent is as you come up and then release to go down, pretty much immediately after releasing, you want to click and hold again, and you'll be reversed, and it'll pull you down here. And if you keep holding into this transition where you become the cube and fall down, it will send you up here consistently in such a way that you can buffer and reach this portal. There was a really weird thing that would happen if you just held here and let whatever happen, where you'd come out of this not quite right, and when you buffered, you'd fall short and die. And that sucks. So that's why I had this very specific thing where I'd immediately after releasing hold again. And I mean, you can see it's only 3 times speed compared to 4 times. It's not that hard. It got very consistent, even from 0. And after you buffered and turn into a reverse UFO, 2 clicks to come down. And then to make something consistent here, because it's what you do is you click to fall up, and then click as the UFO to hit this pad after the transition into the cube, sometimes you would hit the pad and just hit this or something like that. And that would happen if you clicked these too quick, I found. If you click this and then wait and let yourself touch the surface and slide a bit and then do the second jump, never happened. So I always did that. You can buffer these two. I would hold the second one. So as you come down, you jump immediately into this transition into a swing copter ball. This is quite open and easy, but if you're being scared and you're panicking because you're nervous, and this is, you almost can never get rid of nerves from about this point on, because this is real shit. This is the shit that matters. It's easy, but keep composed. You do a click to come up and a second click to come down, and there's a lot of room, so you don't have to be too precise, but just try and be consistent. You then do a click to come up, and you come up far, up to about here, so that you can then do a second click to come down through back here. That changes you to cube, you come down, you click around here, and hold to jump over. You don't want to click far along, close to the spike, because then you'll hit this and die. You don't want to click too early, because you'll hit this. So click around the middle, maybe a tiny bit earlier, and hold and hit this. You'll fall up here and hit a teleporter to around here. And as the UFO, these clicks to the orbs might look a bit funky. They're to the song, and they're very simple. It really is just 7 clicks. You might want to think of it as 4 and 3, or whatever you want to think of it as. They're very consistent and easy though. When you come out the transition as the UFO, it's jump, 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 and then jump 4 as you're here, it sends you over here. And then if you wanted to think of this as a separate 3, it's 1, 2, 3 somewhere. And that feels very comfortable. You really get the direction where you're coming up and then down and then bounce, bounce, bounce. It's very intuitive. This is, you can't see for some reason, but there's a platform here and you're the ship, and you have to go along, down through here, come up, and then through the reverse, you straighten out and straight fly. This part is as tight as it looks, and it is scary. And this is one of the things that I was trying to work on really late into the process, because I couldn't really get my head around it. It is kind of as simple as it looks. As I said, you can quite clearly see the direction you have to go, but doing it all the time consistently, really hard, because this is about 80% of Titan Complex. You will be nervous here. I was nervous here right until the attempt I won. I beat the level. And I tried a few things. I tried, after you slide off the platform, or when you're at the end, 1 click to come up and get yourself high enough to fall down, and then 2 clicks around here, like a 1-2, to get up round, and then, you know, straighten out and straight fly. And once you finish straight flying, you just do a tiny click to get back up here, and there's the little bit at the end. But that then felt a bit inconsistent after a while. I just hit a ceiling where I couldn't get any more consistent, and it just felt really, there was a lot of pressure on the first click to be nailed, because if you do it too hard, you'll hit this. If you do it too low, you'll hit this. Maybe it seems like it shouldn't be that hard, but it's just so much harder to do with all the nerves you get here. So what I found easier was I would try, instead of doing 1 click to get enough height to fall through, I would see it more like I tried to straight fly until I was further along, so that then I was close enough I could fall through. Instead of a loop, I would try and go straight, and I would just do 2 clicks, because you're going quite quickly and it's a short distance. 2 clicks, like a light 1-2, to maintain my height all the way until about here, and then fall through, and do 1 click to hold up. So rather than doing 1, 1, 2, I would do 1, 2, 1. And that felt more consistent and comfortable. And I was much happier with that. Maybe you'll be the opposite, but those are the 2 options I came up with that seemed the most simple and consistent. And this transition into straight fly is just a simple thing. The first click is to straighten out, and then it's a straight fly. It's not that bad. You might want to be deliberate about doing a certain number of clicks here, so that as you reverse, because this is a reverse, you upside down and you get right side up here. You don't want to mismanage your clicks so that you come out too high or low and hit these. Ideally, just straight fly through and then let yourself fall just before this, so that you can then just do 1 click to make sure you're up enough. You then get sent through here, slide along this down to this orb, and you can see you just want to do 1 click to come up and go straight through. And if that looks precise, kind of, but it's really easy. The biggest issue is clicking this too early. If you click the orb really early, you will hit the top almost all the time. If you click it light, but at least late, because you hit it light and late, maybe you won't actually be high enough, but you'll be able to see and do a tiny click to adjust. And if you don't, then it's fine. You go straight through. And that felt quite consistent. You then slide up this thing on your own, and you just have to click here. Make an effort to not buffer this too early, because you can freak out and die if you click this too early. Wait until you're in the dash orb to hold it and slide along and go transition to this next part. From here, by the way, I'd say this is actually much easier. From here, it's quite consistent, easy stuff. These bits, especially this ship, were the harder things, because I said this is part of the second half of the level overall, or the second individual level of the two combined, this Titan complex. From coming out of the swing copter to this, everything, the three bits plus the swing copter was like part 1, and then this part and this part that we're coming up to next were like part 2, and then you just have the tense ending. And the part 2 is, well, part 1 and part 2 are kind of the same because they both have an easy part and a trickier part. The easier part was the first thing with those jewels and whatever, and the hard part was the swing copter for part 1. And for this second part, this previous bit was the hard bit, and now this is easier. This is a bit of an awkward transition though, because you fall up out of the dash orb, and it's a very sudden transition here. And if it looks scary, it's not. Because the way it actually works is that even though you come out the transition almost completely blind, and like you regain vision as you're becoming the wave. So reaction time coming into account, you've basically got no time at all here. You could even buffer this though if you wanted, because all you do is come up and let go anywhere that lets you touch this surface, and then you have an auto for these gaps. But as you come out of the auto, after one click, the next 2 clicks you need to do as you come down here, now it's not auto and you have to do 1, 2, hold. You can let go too early and not get through this properly. And then it looks like it's a transition. It's not a clean transition. You are blind again here, completely blind. Regain vision here. Again, like the last part. Well, not necessarily like the last part, but here you 100% want to buffer so that your wave immediately hits the floor here. And then all you do is let go, tap. That's all this part is. The rest of these bits are auto that sends you down and up. But then as the ship here, you'll naturally come round here, but you want to hit this to come over, and to make it consistent, I tried to buffer once I got out of the auto wave stuff about here. I wanted to hold the ship right from here so that as I came to the portal, I'd automatically hit this. Then the clicks here, 1, 2, so 1 sends you down, 2 sends you over here, bounce, bounce, ignore these, jump, click and hold. Very short hold, pretty much not a hold because of how close it is, but that lets you jump. And then you click this to go over and through. Just to go over this, very easy at the end of the day. I died here a couple of times. This isn't the easiest space to get through in the world, but it's pretty easy overall. This stuff seems really tight. Actually, there's a good amount of room though. It's only 1 click, because this is a buffer and then you just have to release and click. It gets very consistent. These as well, not that bad. They get consistent. They're just literally the last things on the level, and so I did die to this part like 6 times before I got through it, and I beat the level the first time I got through this final part before the end. The one thing is that after these 2 clicks, you can get here kind of too early, where you'll clip this, something about this corner or this edge, and bobble, the cube will bobble before here, and so you can't jump over in time and you'll die. And what I found seemed to fix it is if I waited to click this first black orb. If I clicked it too early and then click this early, I'd like bounce off these too early, and that would lead me to get here early. So I waited until I was more in the middle and tried to click this as light as I could as a micro click, because it is possible to jump and mess stuff up here. Jump, hold, jump. These are very, very open window timings. They're not too hard. As the ship here, this is very simple. You want to come straight through here, and then it's hold, release, hold, all the way down. And that's it. It's literally 2 clicks and just release there. But you can die mainly if you don't click and hold at the right time. If you're coming a bit too late, or if you're too high or too low, it can mess things up. But that's unlikely. The biggest risk probably is actually not entering this little straight fly right, because again it's a pretty sudden blind transition, and this is not in line with this. You have to go down a bit. That's what you have to be conscious of. And then as you transition to the ball here, you want to really be buffering as you transition, because again, very suddenly you can see this, and as the ball now, click, 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 not timed, pretty much buffered. I died to this click from 0 by not clicking it somehow. I think that can be possible if you come out of here too low, but that's again unlikely. You want to just buffer this, buffer this, buffer this, which is a pattern of 3 that you'll get used to and get consistent at. And then it's 1, 2, except if you click this too early, this black orb that sends you here, you'll hit some fluff here and die. And this second click you want to buffer. So the main click is this one to focus on, and this was quite easy to get consistent. Just try and click it in the middle. If you buffer it when you're early on this side, you'll die. Click it in the middle and click immediately again. Then it's just like 4 more clicks to the end to the ending part rather. You come through here, again sudden, got very bright area. You click this and hold to jump over here and hit this. You ignore this orb. But if you buffer this, you'll die. So you're going to wait until you're a bit further along, closer to the middle to hold. Then it's click up here, click down here, jump, hold. Very quick. That's their pattern. These 2 clicks get very easy. This click is very scary. It's not a big gap. It's not super hard to do though. But when you do it, it's click and the second click comes pretty much immediately after. Just jump, jump, hold. And then you go through a transition to the end. And this part is very slow and it's just super tense. But it's not hard. I would say as long as you just focus, you lock in, you just think about the gameplay and making sure you nail the inputs, that will get you the best chance of fluking it or just in general doing it. Because they aren't hard on paper. You should notice in practice that that's the case because I got loads of runs to the end. If the very end part of a level's hard, oftentimes I won't get completed runs to 100 because I'll die at the end. I got loads of runs to 100. It's a very doable end. Just a double spike jump, double spike jump, double spike jump. You don't have to be right up against it, so there's a bit of wiggle room. As this is there's a ball transition as you come up here, you roll up. You pretty much buffer the transition so that you immediately, instead of rolling up down here and then clicking, you buffer around here so you're already reversed, so you just fall, and this becomes a free click. And this click is maybe the only potentially scary click of the whole ending because this really isn't a big gap for the ball. And it took me a couple of cues to try and get this consistent. And the way this part flows is the ball comes down, you can immediately buffer the second click to go up straight away. But the first click here, I mean, it's scary, but it's very, very consistent with the cue that I found for me personally. Maybe a different one would work for you. You essentially want to click when the ball is right around here, just almost halfway off of the final spike. And so that's the first cue I tried, was when the middle of the ball was lined up with this line here, and that should work, but I just couldn't do it consistently like that. I kept dying to it anyway, and I was getting frustrated. And this is in practice, of course. And then I tried clicking when the right edge of the ball touched around here, so again, the ball's right around here, but that I had a lot of trouble with. Probably would have helped for this particular one if I didn't use a jagged, uneven ball skin. If I had the circle ball, maybe it would have been better. Maybe experiment with that if you're having trouble here, who knows. But that didn't work for me. And the one that worked for me was I kind of visualized the gap on the right side of this spike. The gap between this side and this line, if I visualize this as a space, so if I looked at this dark patch to the right of the spike and to the left of this background thing, if I looked at this as a gap, I tried to click as I was in this zone, and that worked all the time. And so that might seem crazy and that might be hard for you to visualize, but it made loads of sense visually for me. That's all I got, and it worked really well. And so as I said, after that click you buffer to immediately come up here, and then this click comparatively, even though straight up I think it might be exactly the same, I'm looking at it, it looks like it could be exactly the same. I want to say, even if it's cope, that it isn't and it's easier. Actually, I want to say it's definitely easier because the problem with this click is that you hit this corner, and obviously there is no corner here. So the late click is dangerous here, essentially. The late click is more dangerous than this spike would let you believe. This one is easier. Just watch for the gap and click in the gap. And then you become a wave and you hold, and then drop down, click, let go. And this up, up, up is quite easy. If it looks intimidating, it's really quite free. The whole thing is free, except for this one click which became free. So it's a lot of this is super safe. You just have to make sure your eyes are open and you're focused, so that you focus on this click. You focus on these gaps. The harder thing is to not release too early or late. Watch for the releases here. So as you lined up, then release and hold. And then as you're lined up, release, and you should be safe. You then, as the cube gets sent up and down, and as you fall, you've got to hit this orb in the middle of this space. And this is a bit scary, because if you hit it too late, you'll fall close to these spikes, and at some point, if you go too late, you will hit these at the end. And so you want to ideally click slightly early up here. Obviously, if you've played this game with these sorts of patterns, you'll know it's really easy to click pretty much closer to this than this, but because you've just passed this one, you still hit the blue one and die. That sucks. But you still want to aim a little bit earlier than center, a bit higher than center, and it's not too hard a timing. And you fall through, and then this final ship, you have a lot of room. The first click hits this orb, so it goes a bit higher. You can do one click, because when you fall into this as the cube, at first it takes a moment for the camera to come up, so you will be a bit blind for the first click. So if you want, you can do the first click firmly and go up using more of the space, and then do one click to straighten out, and by that point you can see everything and you're safer. Or what I tended to do and I got comfortable with was doing one and then that was light, and then two that was light, and then I would do the third to keep straight when I could see a bit later, and both were fine because it's not hard. Come down. For safety, try and be more in the middle here rather than cheat up here because it's unnecessary to cut too close. Just go in the middle, there's loads of room. Come up, come down, and given that this is pretty much the only maneuver that could potentially kill you, even though it's super easy, just for safety, what I came up with to make it 100% consistent is as you fall down, you do it in 2 clicks. The first one somewhere around here in this space, right into that downwards angle. 1 click to hold until you come up the other side, and then just a quick release and another click to hold here will send you up, and you'll hit the ceiling, because the ceiling here you can hit ahead of this stuff and you'll be safe, and it's quite easy to get to if you do that 2 clicks where 1 around here to come up and then releasing 1 down here. By this point that 1 click will be far enough along, you'll hit the ceiling, then you just have to do these 3 clicks. The first one to go down is pretty free. The second one, try not to buffer it. You want to do it at least in the middle, not with a crazy amount of weight on it, just a normal click, a little around the middle. And then this one, again, a pretty normal click and at least around the middle again. If you're going to die to these 2 orbs, it will be because you hit them too early. This one to this spike and this one to this spike. So just give it a moment, don't rush them. A little later, and it's just not scary at all, straight fly to the end. And as long as you don't see an anime girl, you're safe. And you've done it. And that's it. That's all it takes. It's a cool level, but if it's not at the time and you're really under pressure and you're struggling and it's painful, me too. I think that's how it is for everyone. It's a hard level. It's built to punish you and to be really brutal. Just push through it. Try and maximize your consistency everywhere that you can, and you'll get there. So have fun.